We had a funeral yesterday for Brother Keith Johnson, and it got me thinking along this line. Matthew 22:37 says, Jesus said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, with all thy mind. This is what God says that we should be. Matthew 6:24 says, No man can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon. Brother Johnson's funeral, if you weren't there, I think a lot of you weren't, there a few of you were, but there was a great crowd there. And it was Brother Johnson, for a time, he had a very rough life. It even says right there, the struggle with alcoholism, things like that. And God got a hold of his life. And once God got a hold of his life, he was a new creature. Old things were passed away. But you know, Brother Johnson did not die with a great amount of earthly things. But it got me thinking, because as I was listening, and there was person after person. Yes, I was in Mr. Johnson's Sunday school class, and he taught me. Now they're grown with their own families, and here's these kids that he taught. People that he had an influence on, an impact on. Although he did not die with so much earthly wealth, he died a rich man because of the influence that he had on others. There was another man that I like to go bow fishing. If you ever want to go sometime, it's a lot of fun. It's regular fishing like this, and just sit there for like an hour, it's so boring to me. So bow fishing, you actually hunt with a bow and arrow and you shoot the fish. There's a guy named Ronnie that introduced me to that, and he's an older man. But more important than the bow fishing that he introduced to me, I went to his funeral, and Ronnie for almost 60 years had been serving in his church. And it was just amazing to see. Like Brother Johnson, it reminded me, that's why it reminded me of the two of them, how much impact they had on this world. But it didn't have anything to do with mammon. Mammon is like the earthly things, wealth, things like that. And recently I heard a guy and look, this is the thing, even the world somewhat knows this isn't the case, because there was this guy who was saying, you know what I really want to have is just, if I just had that mansion and I had all the stuff with it, life would be great. And the people around him that were, again, not saved people, but just worldly people said, no, come on, you know that's not really the case. It's not going to make you happy. And they said, you know what, he said, yeah, I do need to have a better relationship with my son. I don't have a good relationship with him. I do need to, be good to my wife, because he's not good to his wife, that he is divorced and all this other stuff. But it just, when I thought of what he said, and then when I saw what Brother Johnson and Brother Ronnie Hill's life were, I thought, man, if we truly believe what we believe about God, if Jesus truly saved my soul, then I'm either going to hate the one and love the other, or love the one and hate the other. But you can't do both. You can't do both. And we'll talk about it a little bit more in the lesson, but it was, man, the legacy that Brother Johnson left, although it isn't a legacy of wealth, it is a legacy of spiritual wealth. He had a spiritual wealth that he was able to pass on. So there's that was to go with that. Let me see. Let's go to James. We're in chapter 4. We've already done James chapter 4, the first 10 verses. I'm getting towards the end of James, I promise, but there's just so much in James that it's hard to get through all of this. James, remember, is the show me book. You say that you have this faith. Well, how about you show it to me, okay? Oh, by the way, we have a couple of visitors here. Jemima and Kapinga. Let's say your last name for Mukendi, okay? Jemima and Kapinga Mukendi. It's their first time today, so let's give them a big hand. We actually have this is Belizean hot sauce. So this is, Kaya is from Belize, and she is the Belizean hot sauce spokeswoman. But
the ambassador to Belize.
And it's very good. It's very good. So, all right. James chapter 4, we talked last week about it being the show me state. The show me book. We went through the first 10 verses of chapter 4. Are you fleeing or are you pursuing? The first 5 verses are fleeing, warfare and fighting, dissatisfaction, lust and selfishness, worldliness, envy. If these are the things that are in your life, it's your direction towards God is I'm going away, I'm moving away from Him. If you're giving more grace, if you're resisting the enemy, if you're approaching God, if you're seeking for cleansing and purity in your life, if you're serious about God, if you're renouncing of yourself, if you're looking for restoration with those that you have wronged, all of those are things that are saying, okay, now I am pursuing Christ. So are we fleeing or are we pursuing? Now remember, I gave this graph last week. This graph, okay, yes, it's the S&P 500 over the last 100 years, but what I wanted to show you with this graph is everybody knows if you're investing in the stock market, it may go up or may go down the next day, right? It's on a day-to-day basis, the stock market is pretty volatile. It can go up and go down, right? Up and down. But you do know that over the course of 100 years, it's constantly moving up. It has its ups, it has its downs, but it's constantly moving up. And this is a good representation of what we as Christians should be desiring. We're going to have our ups and downs. It's the nature of living in this body of flesh. I wish I could tell you that every day is going to be this, but you know as well as I do that that's not the case. It's not even on an everyday basis, it's on a moment by moment basis. 1 minute things may be great and grand, and literally the next, plunge, we go from bull market to bear market just like that, right? And so this though should be our desire, is that throughout our days, throughout our life, we are pursuing Christ, and we're going to have our falls, but the just man falls 7 times and riseth up again, and we're getting up and we're pursuing, and we're getting up and we're pursuing again. That should be our goal. Now let's look at verse 11. Chapter 4, James 4, we're in James 4, verse 11. Speak not evil one of another, brethren. He that speaketh evil of his brother, and judges his brother, speaketh evil of the law, and judgeth the law. But if thou judge the law, thou art not a doer of the law, but a judge. One of the contradictions of faith, and when I say contradiction of faith, what I'm meaning is, we say we are Christians, we say that we are followers of Christ, but when we do this thing, we are a contradiction. We are a walking contradiction. Does that make sense? Where we are saying we are one thing, but our actions contradict what we say. And so, speak not evil one of another, brethren. Unkind criticism. We are so quick to criticize. Not ourselves. Of course, we got it all together, right? I mean, come on. We're pretty good. But we are so quick to criticize others. Our spouse, our children, our co-workers, our fellow Christians, our pastor, your teacher, okay? I mean, look, I got a lot of stuff you could criticize about, so there's probably not even unkind, it's probably just truthful criticism. But unkind criticism is something that as a Christian, we should, when we see that, we say, oh man, no, that's a problem. I saw this the other day, I was like, oh man, sometimes it's like, oh man, that kid, where does he get it from? I know where he gets it from. From me. We are so quick to criticize. We are so quick to talk about others. We're so quick to do that. And then we wonder why, why is it that my kids are like this? Why is it that the people that I hang around are so mean and critical? Maybe they just found the person that they're like. You found the people that you're like. So you gotta be careful of that. Improper evaluation. There's unkind criticism, and then there's improper evaluation. He that speaketh evil of his brother and judgeth his brother speaketh evil of the law and judgeth the law. But if thou judge the law, thou art not a doer of the law, but a judge. We're not. Now, this thing of judging, there is a lot of stuff in Scripture because people take it too far on both extremes. They say you're never supposed to judge, but if I never judged, then I would have tell my kids, do whatever you want. Don't run out into the highway. Well, why am I saying to my kids, don't run out on the highway? Because I've judged that that's dangerous, so it's not a smart place for my kids to be. So I say, nope, you're not going there, and keep them away, right? We are to judge certain things. We are to say, hey, you know what, that's not a good place for me to be right now. If I'm over there, I'm going to end up doing something wrong. So I've judged. That's an improper thing. So there are extremes on both sides that sometimes people say you shouldn't ever judge. We are supposed to judge. There's a lot of verses on that in the Bible. But specifically, this is talking more of we like to judge other people and situations when it's not our job. We think, I don't know about you, but I have this problem where I kind of think, oh man, I got it together. I kind of know. And so oftentimes we like to judge something and we don't know the whole situation. We don't know the facts. We don't know what somebody else's motives are. We don't know all of that. And yet we decide what has happened, what is right, what is wrong, and all these things. And it's not our job. I'll just give you an example. I work here at the church. And man, there's been a lot of different times that I've worked here. I've only worked here like 5-6 years. That I've heard of people saying, hey, this man, no, this really was done wrong, or this was and then I'm thinking, man, if you just knew the whole situation, you have no clue what you're talking about. But it wasn't their job, but they decided to become the judge of a situation or the judge of what happened, and they were completely wrong. And this is something that at the improper evaluation, this is a contradiction of faith. We are supposed to judge in areas that are our areas to judge, and when it's not our area, we just say, it's not my job. You know, and it's actually very freeing if we think of it in that way, where we say, you know what, my job, it's hard enough. I'm supposed to be a husband, I'm supposed to be a father, I'm supposed to lead this class, I have different areas where I'm supposed to be the one that leads this area. I'm the judge, if you want to say, over it. But as soon as it's not my job, I need to just say, you know what? That's not my job over there. It helps to free me to say, you know what? I have a hard enough time doing my job, let alone trying to do somebody else's job for them or tell them how to do their own job. And so that's verse 11. This is again improper evaluation of this. How often do we see this, right? Here we have something happening, and we see a small piece of it, that gets portrayed to us through the media, through whatever, and then we come to our conclusion about it, and again, that's why America was founded on such great things, that we have due process and things like this, because then you get the whole picture. But we live in a culture and a society now where it's rush to judgment, it's snap judgment on everything, and so often you see this, and this is what you see, and you don't see the whole picture. This is in our daily lives as Christians. This is what we've got to be careful of, is that we have this improper evaluation going on in our lives. Next thing, unseemly arrogance. Here again is kind of the issue. Verse 12, there's one lawgiver who's able to save and to destroy. Who art thou that judgest another? Now, one lawgiver is Jesus Christ. God is the just judge. There's one who's going to be and who are we to think that, no, but I think that it should have been done this way. It's just unseemly arrogance that we have. Now the basis of our faith, verse 13. Go to now, ye that say, today or tomorrow we will go into such a city and continue there a year and buy and sell and get gain. Whereas ye know not what shall be on the morrow. For what is your life? It is even a vapor that appeareth for a little time and then vanisheth away. The basis of our faith, truly faith, the definition of faith here is when we're believing in something we cannot see. Just think, how much faith have you lived by in the last week, the last month, the last year? We as Christians want to live a life of faith, and we got to be careful. So in verse 13 and 14 is talking about just, here's, we're already saying, hey, this is how it's all going to go. We got life figured out. And I don't know about you, but life comes at you fast sometimes, doesn't it? Doesn't life come at you? You had it all figured out, and then, oh, wait a minute. And I'm a planner. I'm a guy that likes to have things in order, and you could have everything you want in order, but life can change very quickly. And so we have to be, and the Bible says it's just a vapor. It's literally just a vapor. You know, one thing that I was thinking through as I was thinking through this about life being a vapor, you know, you're cooking something, you're boiling water. How long does that vapor last? It's just a whisper, isn't it? And when we take this vapor of a life, God says it's a vapor, we know it. God says it's just like a twinkling of an eye. You know, people say it's just a dash. You know, the year you're born, the year you die, and there's that dash in between. That's how long your life is, just that little dash. We kind of know that philosophically, but we actually don't live it faithfully. So we have that understanding, but as a Christian especially, you know, Brother Johnson's funeral yesterday, there was some tears shed, there was some heartache because somebody, a man is gone, but there was joy, there was happiness, there was remembering the life that he lived, because we had the hope of heaven, knowing we're going to see him one day again. And so it's not the same as someone who has no hope of heaven. And so this vapor of a life that we live, if we're not too careful, we take all of our thought, all of our energy, all of our actions, all of our hours, and we spend it investing in things that are a vapor, that are literally here and gone. That's why the Bible talks about laying up treasures in heaven where moth and rust that not corrupt, where thieves don't break through and steal. Because you can put all of your time and emphasis, and look, we get so caught up in this rat race that we can just get stuck here, and pretty soon this vapor of a life is over. Say, for what? What did I spend my life doing? I spent all my life, and now I got a few dollars in the bank. I can't take it with me. I got whatever I've accumulated here on earth, but if you can't keep it. So we got to be careful of that. The next base of our faith is trust and obedience. It says in verse 15, "For that ye ought to say, if the Lord will, we shall live and do this or that. But now ye rejoice in your boastings. All such rejoicing is evil. Therefore to him that knoweth to do good and doeth it not, to him to sin." There's this phrase. This is like a hillbilly phrase right here. If you're from like the South or up in the mountains of West Virginia, they'll say, "Lord willing and the creek don't rise." I can't even say because I'm Californian. I don't, but they'll say something like this: "Lord willing and the creek don't rise." And what they're saying is, when someone's asking, "Hey, are you gonna be at church tomorrow? Or are you gonna come meet me or whatever?" And they say, "Lord willing and the creek don't rise." It's actually a biblical phrase, "Lord willing," because of verse 14, where is it? No, 15. "For that ye ought to say, if the Lord will, we shall live and do this or that." Instead of, look, and this is where the Lord willing and if the Lord will it is where we as Christians, we need to live a life that's more of everything that I get or that I happens to me is always because of Him. There should be a whole reframing that, look, the world is, if anybody is successful in the world, do you know who did it? Me. Oh yeah, I'm so great because of this and that and whatever. And the Bible says time and chance happeneth to them all. That really, honestly, sometimes you're in the right place at the right time, and yeah, you did whatever. But the pride of man says me. Whereas a Christian, it should be more so of he. Not me, it's He in everything that we do. And also that we understand that this phrase is literally talking about how this life is just a vapor. It is so fast. And so I want to do this or that, but if God wills it and if it's what He wants. Let's go to chapter 5. Trying to get through this quickly. James chapter 5. Let me just give you a quick overview of James chapter 5. The first 6 verses, we're going to talk about the misplacing of faith. Remember, James this whole book, this is why we're talking about faith, because this whole book is faith. And when I talk about faith, I'm talking about the type of faith that you have. The United States is a majority Christian nation. Christian. But if you go and you go around society, they may claim Christian, but their faith, the way that they live, doesn't. It's a contradiction. right? Like we talked about that before. It's a walking contradiction. Or you say you are a Christian, yet this is how you live. When I was in Ghana, there's a large percentage of Ghana is Muslim, and there is a lot of misconceptions from Western people to what Muslims are, and also Muslims to what Western people and Christians are. And they had such a misconception of what Christianity was, because they thought what they saw on TV from the Western world was Christianity. They saw the rap music, they saw the music videos, they saw the television, and they thought that was Christianity. And it was like, no, that's not Christianity. But sadly, a lot of those people that were doing things that were vile and filthy and wrong would claim to be Christian, right? And so when we talk about this faith, instead of looking at everybody else, let's look at ourselves. I'll get to that in a second, but let's look at ourselves, because we can get very comfortable comparing ourselves among ourselves and sit here and say, well, sure, but look, that person over there claims to be a Christian. I'm doing better than them. And that's the totally wrong way to look at it. It's all should be internally, am I living the life of faith that I should be doing? So the first 6 verses is the misplacing of faith. The second is the patience of faith. Ooh, patience, that's a hard word. Be patient and get into it. The third one is the revealing of faith. Well, this is chapter 5 here. Let me just get to quickly the misplacing of faith. Now, these verses, a lot of this is talking about riches, rich man, and all these things. And so, the what do you call it? When we're I just talked about comparing ourselves. What is easy for us to do is to say, you know what, brain, switch it off right now. Let's talk about rich man. I ain't talking about me. I ain't rich, right? I think if any of us were to start talking and say, hey, who among us here is rich? Okay, and then let's define richness. And what is, and we'd all be like, no, we're all just trying to get through life, right? You're rich. Yeah. This is why. Let me just as we think through this, let me just tell you, you are rich. If your household earns $40,000 a year, you are in the top 20% of the world in income. 40,000. That's basically minimum wage, a little bit more than minimum wage. So if your household makes $40,000 a year, you're in the top 20% of the world. If you make, I think it's just over $100,000, you're in the top 10% of the world. You're rich. That means you're richer than 80 to 90%. Everybody in this room is richer than 80 to 90% of this world. So you are rich. I looked at the bottom 10 countries by average income. $220 in Burundi, Afghanistan $390. This right here, some of you make in a day. You'll make this is a year, their annual income, how much they make in a year. Less than these are the bottom 10 countries. So in 10 countries of the world, less than $600 is what they make, not in a day, not in a week, not in a month, in a year.
Yikes.
You're rich. You're rich. And so I don't want us to see, this is where it's very easy when we start comparing. As at first I'm reading these verses and it's like very easy to be like, yeah, these rich guys, and then I said, oh, wait a minute.
That's right.
Rich. I've been blessed. You've been blessed. You live in a country that you are blessed. Every single one of you. People, I mean, it's just, I don't even have time to go through how we've been blessed, but we are blessed to live here. So, I'm sorry, go to chapter 5. I'm missing the verses here. Verse number 1, it says, "Go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl for your miseries that shall come upon you." Verse 2, "Your riches are corrupted and your garments are moth-eaten. Your gold and silver is cankered, and the rust of them shall be a witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as it were fire. Ye have heaped treasure together for the last days." Christian, remember, James is not written to everyone, it's written to Christians. These rich men that he's talking about are not just any rich men, it's Christians. It's you and me who live in the top 80 to 90 percentile of the world's income. It's written to me and you. We are rich. And this is written to us saying that your riches are corrupted, your garments are moth-eaten, your gold and silver is cankered, and the rest of them shall be a witness against you and shall eat your flesh as it were fire. You have heaped treasure together for the last days. You say, Brother Brett, I don't have treasure. I don't have a pile of gold sitting underneath, my house somewhere. Go look at your houses. Go look at the amount of things. I was going through this week, and because again, we're having this yard sale, right? And it's like, okay, what things can I give away to kind of clear out declutter my house, And all of us, look, every single one of us, you got some stuff you can give to the yard sale, I guarantee you, because we all have so much things. We have accumulated these riches and spent so much money on these things. Some of you've emigrated from other countries. Can you imagine back when you were a child what you have now? I mean, I grew up here poor when I was growing up, and I was putting like what do you call it, cardboard in the bottom of my shoes, to make them last longer. They got holes in them, you got to make them last longer and all that stuff. But I was poor compared to American. You go to some of these other countries. I lived in Ghana for 5 years, and wow, you see true poverty. And some of you came from that, and from that to what you are, it's actually mind blowing, to think where you started to where you are now. All of those things, all the things that we carry in our house and in our lives, we are so very rich. If we're really chasing after those things, we're heaping treasures together for the last days. There's going to be a corruption and destruction of riches. There's going to be a corrosion and poison of riches. I was just looking up how much treasure there is buried in the ocean. There's like 60 to 100 billion dollars just of lost gold buried out somewhere. Hey, if you want to be a gold hunter, go out with, good luck finding it. But there's 60 to 100 billion out there. But then I was looking, and actually even more than that, there is in the ocean, there is trillions and trillions of dollars of just dissolved gold in the ocean. One place it said that there was, I think, 770 trillion. But then I looked that up, and I was like, that was compared to the spot price of gold 10 years ago. I looked up what gold was worth now, and I did a little bit of math. It's 1,856 trillion dollars worth of gold is just dissolved sitting in the oceans. That is like, it's a number you can't even comprehend, right? It's huge amounts. Because to God, really, that's what it is. It's just gonna, what it says in verse 3, it's cankered, it's gonna rust, it's just gonna dissolve and go to nothing. And at the end of our life, you can't take any of that with you. So as a Christian, and we got to close because we got Baptism Sunday coming up, but as a Christian, what are we doing with our lives? What is it that we want to leave with us? Just all the way back to that quick thought talking about the Johnsons, Mr. Johnson and Mrs. Johnson, she's the same way, and Ronnie Hill. These guys, they didn't leave a huge house. They didn't leave tons of money, but they left a legacy of impact for God, for the gospel's sake, that's going to carry on for eternity. Not just today, not just in their lifetime, but for eternity. And I would encourage you as Christians, we don't want to get to heaven and say, you know what, I sure had a lot of money left up in my IRAs. I sure had, and look, I have those, okay? I am preparing for my future, but that's not my goal. That's not my life. My life is, what am I gonna live for after my vapor of a life is past, what am I gonna have left for eternity? All right, let's pray. Father, I love you, Lord. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this class. God, it's a blessing to be able to come and to speak about your word. God, you're so worth us serving. And God, I just pray that you'd help us to serve you this week. Thank you for the opportunity that we have to be at church. I pray that you would bless the time that we have here with Baptism Sunday. It'd be honoring and pleasing to you. We love you in your name. Amen.